All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode here on LAconic. I'm here today with just my co-host, Adam. And actually, I'm going to be doing a little bit of interview with Adam. He's going to be sharing some of his backstory on his own life, his own personal life. You guys know some of that already. You know some of mine already. We're going to share a little deeper, I guess, for Adam. And also some new, something exciting that he wanted to share with us, too. So that's awesome. But first, I wanted to take a moment. Thank you guys for leaving comments and also for listening to our last episode. We had some great reception on it. It was really, really awesome to hear everyone's feedback. So thank you for that. If you haven't already subscribed to us, you can do so on Spotify podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of other podcast apps. Just search for LAconic Podcast. You can also watch us on YouTube. We're doing a YouTube video interview right now, live of this here. So you can see us recording live in the studio as we're doing it, if you watch it on YouTube as well. But if you'd like to just listen along, you can do that as well too. We don't really show too many things in the video that you would miss if you were listening to it. So it's just so you can kind of put a face to the name of the people that you're listening to. But again, my name is Danny, and I'm here with my co-host, Adam.
Hello, guys.
And yes, so thanks again, guys, for all the reception. Do go ahead and give us a follow, too, on Instagram at @B_Laconic, as well as Twitter. And, of course, here on YouTube, just search for LAconic Podcast. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get started here. I'll let Adam kind of take over so he can talk a little bit about his background, as we get into kind of the big news that he wanted to share with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Danny, for that intro. Yeah, man. People know about me and stuff. They know, I just shared a little bit about myself, like when we did that last episode, like me moving to LA and like what that meant to me and stuff. But yeah, I mean, a little backstory of myself. I was, at age 12, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but also it was a good thing. I got taken away from my mother and was placed into the foster care system. For those that don't know, is when like the government, comes into your life and takes like parental rights from your parents. And they're no longer, they can either fight to get you back or they're not granted access to get you back. So unfortunately for me, my mother at age 13, I found out that, no way you're getting back your kids. Like the only way you're going back to your mother's when you turn 18. So there I am, foster care system at age, 12. And, I stayed until 18. And during my whole time, I was struggling, like trying to find out who I was within myself. I was heading in the bad direction in the first place. I wasn't heading anywhere. I mean, I was
when you were younger,
right? When I was younger, I wasn't heading anywhere. I was involved in gangs. I was a truant. Like I got suspended multiple times from school. I actually got expelled multiple times. Nothing that I'm proud of, but it's a little backstory of who I am and what this means to me now. So growing up in the foster care system, I, wanted to change my life. I definitely didn't want to do the same thing I was doing. I always, I just told myself, like, I have to be the better example for my family and for my brother and sister. Like, I have to be that better example because, unfortunately, I love my mother, but she wasn't the best person for us, at the time. And there's a lot of factors that come into it, but, we're not going to talk about her right now. It's all, it's just about my past and what happened to me. So, anyways, when I was, going through the foster care system, I bettered myself. I got better grades. I, did the whole thing where you have to do is like go to school, try to, get good grades and maybe that can open opportunities for you. So I, was fortunate to have great foster parents that were in my life and, shout out Mark and Lisa this year. They did a really good job, raising me and teaching me the values of, what, a good person's supposed to have, type of values and what a family is supposed to have, for values and stuff. So, flash forward, I get accepted to Cal State Fullerton and, I got a full ride scholarship and that was for Guardian Scholars Program. And that's like a program that's mainly for foster youth. So, I was really proud of myself from getting into this full ride. From just going nowhere in life to actually, potentially have the opportunity to go somewhere. And it was just a big thing for me. And while I was in the program, I did whatever I could to graduate because I wanted to be the first in my family to get a degree. I even, let alone graduate from high school, I wanted to be the first to, graduate from college. So during my whole time there, I did everything I could to give back. I gave back, as a foster youth, when you're in the program, you don't have to give back, but I chose to give back. Like I volunteered all these things that we used to do, like for like a lot of things. I volunteered for foster youth, always giving back. I was part of like this connection youth. God, I forgot the words for it, but CYC. I was part of them, and that's like pretty much it's a group of foster youth that come together to try to pass laws and try to move things, because fortunately the foster care system is not the greatest. It's all broken down. So it's just something that it was never the right thing. There was just bad things in the foster care system. So I always just wanted to push to give back and all that. And unfortunately, I did graduate from college and I got a job, and I was actually giving back. I was a outreach specialist for this EOPS, but
What's
mostly
EOPS?
It was Educational Opportunity Program.
Oh, okay. So it was
Yeah, it
was like a job that the school gave you as part of this program.
Not Garden Scholars. This is when I graduated. So when I graduated, I wanted to give back. So I'm like, what's the one way to me to give back?
Well, before we proceed any further, I want to maybe give some people more background, because we kind of went from you being involved in gangs, and you being truant from school, and then all of a sudden you're in college. So obviously there was some sort of change there, where you all of a sudden realized that the ways of your past were not the ways that you wanted for your life, as far as like the lifestyle that you were living, and you made a change and a commitment to go to school. Would you say it was this change was your foster parents, or was it something else that helped you kind of change that path in your life?
Oh, yeah. So good question. No, it was actually not my foster parents. It's actually a kid at the group home, believe it or not. When I was in the group home at age 12, I met this guy named Raul. And Raul was like 18. He was an older guy, and I looked up to him.
Shout out to Raul.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he is sadly in prison now. But I appreciate him. Whatever he's at, he changed my life. Like, if it wasn't for this kid, man, he definitely changed my. So, literally one day he walked up to me, and he goes, "Hey, what's up, man? Like, where you from?" And I told him that was like the number one question where I grew up is where you from. It was like a gang thing. It's like this. It's like the number one question that can either get you killed or it can keep you alive. So it was just like, that's how I grew up. And I was like, oh man, I was scared because I don't know if I was supposed to tell him where I was from, or like where I'm really from, as in I was in a gang involvement, or do I just lie to him and come out with it? So I'm like, you know what, I'm not scared. And I've never been scared. So I took the risk, and I was like, I'm from Salinas, blah, blah, blah. I'm from this gang. And he's like, okay, cool. Like, I'm from this gang. We're not, we're cool with you guys, but we're bigger gang than you guys. And I was like, okay. So then he told me, and then he stopped, and he goes, that's your brother, right? Like, he pointed out, at the time I was sweating, he was younger, he was at the group home with me, and he was like 9 years old. And he's like, that's your brother, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you know what? One thing that I wish my older brother would have, told me at an early age is don't get involved in gangs. It's not the path you want to be in. My brother right now is in prison. He's like, I don't think you should be that bad example for your brother. I'm telling you from my standpoint, I'm 18 years old. I've been in and out of juvenile hall. I've done it all. I was in the same position you were in, and my brother never taught me the right way. And I'm not going to let you fuck that up for that little kid right there. So I really think this gang stuff is not for you. Don't do it. It's not worth it. I guarantee you it's not worth it. Trust me on this. I've been there, done it. It's not worth it. So he's like, you need to be the better example for that brother that's looking up to you. Because I know I was looking up to my brother, and he showed me the gang route, and that was not the route that I wanted to take. Yeah. But I had no choice. That's what I looked up to. He was the only father figure in my life, was my brother. And that kind of hit me because I was always been that parent for my siblings. I didn't have a father growing up. We did, and he wasn't the greatest. My stepdad was horrible. So my brother also always looked up to me. So for me, I took that, and that's literally all I had to hear was him telling me it's not worth it. And I took that advice, and I ran with it. And I decided to change my whole life. And one route that I knew I was horrible at was school. So I told myself, what's the best way to get out of this hump and to change my life? And it was school. I was always horrible in school. And I don't even think I was horrible. It's just I never had anyone that give a shit about me in school. It just didn't click. No one cared because no one cared in my family. I didn't care. My family didn't care. I didn't care. So yeah, I switched that, and I went to middle school, and I got 4.0s. I got I was a dean's list all the time, and my whole thing in that whole time that I was telling was like, I didn't want to give up because I was like, that Josue is looking up to me. Literally, Josue was like my whole motivation of actually, changing my whole life. And I also thank Raul for that, because Raul was a huge reason why. And, I got into the Guardian Scholars Program. That was it. That was a motivation. That was a push. And, my family, foster parents, the Sears, shout out to them. Like I said, I really appreciate what they did for me, because, like, if it wasn't for Lisa and Mark telling me to go to college, I had no idea what college was. I was like, what? Like, what is that? I thought I just had to graduate high school, and that's it. That's the best example I can give all sweat. It's like, I graduated high school, man. Like, this is, huge for us. But you're not stopping there. Like, you have to go to college, because college will give you a better opportunity. So junior years, that's when I found out about college. Sadly, that's when I found out. And, Lisa's the reason why I found, she's the one who told me about the Guardian Scholars Program. I had no idea. So she did her homework. Because she didn't want me, she wanted to get the best possible opportunity for myself. And, she did whatever she can, and she found that. And, I appreciate that for her. I really appreciate that she found that, because I wouldn't even know where to look. So, I applied, I applied at every single school that I applied to. It was like 7 colleges. Looking back now, I wish I would have known about UCLA and USC, because I would definitely apply there. Because, I got accepted to all the schools I applied to. It was like 7 schools. I got accepted to all of them. And I talked about in the last one, in the first episode that we did, I wanted to go to San Diego State, but didn't. I was like, House of Fullerton was the closer to LA. So, they're the reason why I got the full ride scholarship. And I was really proud, that still in a way in college, I wanted to give up so many times. I wanted to give up, and it was Josue was a motivation of not giving up. It was like, no, like, Josue is looking up to you, man. You have to finish school. Not only that, your parents, like my parents, are counting on me. I didn't want to let anyone down. It's a bigger pressure when you let someone down than disappoint your own self. So I didn't want to disappoint them. So
yeah.
My thing was that. So that, answering your question to what was the reason of what started it all was definitely Raul.
Mm-hmm. And so then when you got the Guardian Scholar Program, and they helped you go to school, and they gave you the full ride scholarship to college, and then you graduated college, and I feel like that in and of itself is worth mentioning, because the statistics for foster children graduating from college isn't very high.
No, it's actually 3%.
Yeah, so
3%.
And not only did you graduate from college, but you graduated from college with 2 degrees.
Yes, I did. Yeah 2 degrees in 4 years.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say that. And
I'm
really
you, so you're in the 3% of foster youth.
Yeah.
For graduating from college, so that was a great example to set for your brother Josue.
Yeah.
And I feel like he probably saw that, and obviously, he did his own schooling, and
yeah, definitely.
I think has aspirations of being a chef, right?
Yeah. I hope so.
and he's very good at what he does. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool story. And it was because of not only, Raul in the beginning, and then your brother being motivation for you, and then of course your foster mother, who helped you realize about the Guardian Scholar Program. But it's programs like those that really helped change your life truly.
Yeah.
And give you that education, which is so important to kind of what you wanted to talk about. So let's fast forward back to where you left off originally, and you talked about how you got a job through, what was the program again?
It was an outreach program. It was EOPS, educational, yeah.
And this is an outreach program for foster youth?
No. So this is it was originally just for for underprivileged? Yeah, underprivileged like kids and stuff. But they hire me because they're actually doing a sub for Guardian Scholars at a community college. So they wanted me to be like the face for it. So I recruit foster youth to come, and I tell them my story, and they're like, okay, I can go to college too, because if this guy did it, I can definitely do it too. So I was working for them, and I was giving back in that way, and I grew up the program a little bit, and then things happen. Unfortunately, state budget cuts. We all been some people have had to deal with that. I unfortunately was part of that budget cut, and just it is what it is. And I that was my vision, where I was like, I'm gonna give back, and this was one way of me giving back. But then they got cut, and then I just didn't know what to do after that. So I went in my slums, or I found other jobs, and it wasn't anything about me giving back, right? So I wasn't personally, you met me. I wasn't in the right headspace to even give back, because I'm not one person to tell foster youth like, yeah, you can go to college and do this. Myself is not even doing. I'm not even doing that well. I'm not progressing in life. I'm not moving forward. Yes, I graduated from college, but it's like I want to be able to. They see something and they're like, this guy is like actually doing something. At the time, I don't think I was, and even though I'm so hard on myself, I probably was doing pretty well, but in my own, the way I judge myself, I am the hardest judge for my own self. So I wasn't in the right headspace, regardless. It was with relationships and everything. I wasn't in the right headspace. I didn't know my own worth. So anyways, flash forward to now, and exciting news is I'm actually giving back. I'm part of a board of directors for Covenant House, which is a program that helps homeless kids in LA and in the Bay Area. Teenagers only is the main focus point, is teenagers that are homeless. And I have backstory with that because I was homeless myself, and I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. But not only that, their niche is foster youth. Most of the kids that are homeless that end up in the streets that are teenagers are all foster. Like, most of them are foster youth, and that was just something that hit me huge. And I'm like, I'm in the better headspace. I'm at the right age. I'm ready to give back. And I, did the interviews. It was like 4 crazy interviews that I had to do and explain my life story. And I was fortunate they picked me, and I'm really proud of myself for being able to be part of this program that helps like kids like myself that wasn't, that experience like being in foster care, experience being in, a homeless youth, like just with anything. And I wanted to be that voice for them, and I want those kids to look up to me and be like, well, this guy went through our life, like he went through this, and now he's trying to give back, and maybe one day I can also give back the way he's giving back. So that was like my huge announcement, was being part of the Covenant House board members. And I'm like I said, I'm very fortunate about the opportunity. I know I can give back, and what I have bring a lot into the table of experience, right? That some of my own colleagues and stuff that are part of the board, they have experience, but they don't have the way that I live this life. I walk the walk. So,
I think it's cool. So. I think it's the cool thing about all this is that, like, when you've gotten this opportunity in the past through Guardian Scholars, which is a different program, but just in general, one of the common themes as far as I've known you is you always felt like you wanted to do a lot of things to give back.
Yes.
Including this podcast in and of itself, and hoping to help someone, who maybe have heard this or any of the episodes and are inspired in some way. That was kind of like the whole birth idea of the podcast to begin with. And so I feel like this was, I think, super exciting for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like you finally got another way, and a really important way, to be honest, being on the board of directors of this huge program, the Covenant House, as like you've basically cemented probably a pretty long-standing opportunity to continue giving back to a type of program that helped you change your life, and hopes to help other kids change their lives that are in this foster program, that unfortunately, like you mentioned, isn't the best as far as the way it's run or maybe how it's funded. And so a lot of kids fall through the cracks and end up, unfortunately, in not the best situations. So I think that programs like these are super important, obviously. And it's like a huge accomplishment that you're on the board of directors. So again, congratulations on that. I've already told you, but
no, I appreciate it.
mentioning on the men. Yeah. But so as far as board of directors, explain to, I guess, everyone listening, your role on board of directors. Like, how can you influence on, like, essentially helping someone directly, or like, do you have any influence per se on like what programs they fund, or like what their, or like scholarships, or how, what's essentially like what's the main gist of what Covenant does? How can you influence that?
Well, Covenant House, they're definitely, so they're actually going to build a new shelter actually in Anaheim where you live at. So it's their main thing is to get kids off the streets. That's the number one goal. Get kids off the street. Yeah, teenage kids off the street. It goes from age 17 up to like 24. That's like their age gap, their age group.
So young adults.
Young adults. So, my thing is going to be so anyways, I'm just telling you about there's shelters. They're trying to get the kid, the young adults off the streets, and they're providing them, shelter. That's their number one thing, shelter and food. It's a huge thing. And then after that, they try to get them back into, accumulate them back to society, as in like, get a job, and we'll help you find a job, and then you can stay in the program in here, but we're going to eventually try to get you your own little place, like an independent living program. Like we're going to put you in a spot where you can be independent for yourself. We'll still monitor, and we'll still be there, and we'll still be involved. We're always going to be like your support circle, because most of these young adults don't really have that. They don't have a support circle. I mean, that's the reason why they're in the streets. I mean, they don't have that.
People helping them with their finances.
Well, nothing. I mean, it's just that they're just left abandoned, and that's just what it is. Sadly, that's what it is. But my goal is to be raise awareness and bring donors in to give money. So if I have to tell my story a million times, I will. If I have to bring in a kind of guide in a young adult and kind of like help him and guide him and like how to get through this, I will. It's whatever I can do to be that support system for them. And my goal is to definitely bring outreach, bring awareness, and just be a mentor. That's like the biggest thing I can do. And don't be afraid. We have some board people that I'm like one of the youngest board members there. And we have some that have been there for a while, and they're in age, and it's like, age difference. Sometimes I don't want to be intimidated. I want to make sure that I have a voice. I can speak up when I need to. And if I don't like something that they're doing it the way, I can speak up about it and be, we can interact and talk about it. Because like once again, I've been in those shoes, so I know exactly what those kids are going through or what they experience, so it's like I have to be that voice for them. I can't just let people make policies or do certain ways just because it's the way it is. Like it's not going to work that way for us, because I've been, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. It may help the children. It may help like the young adults and kids that they're trying to reach. Your input and your insight, especially being from that, like might help them better reach these, or reach an understanding, or at least get through to these kids in a way that they maybe they wouldn't have unless they had someone like you with your insight and like having been through that. So it's also a way for like I don't know how much direct relation you're going to have with any of the people involved, like as far as the kids and adults in the program, but maybe them seeing like someone like yourself on the board. If I don't know if they were ever like given like a pamphlet on like the program and who's in it, like or even if you're used to, like you mentioned, like telling your story, like maybe they realize, hey, this person who's shared their stories also on the board of directors for this, like this seems legit. Like
then you actually brought up a good point that I was gonna follow up. That's exactly what it is. Like I'm the face for them now, and in a way I'm Hispanic, minority, I was a foster youth, I'm part of the, I don't care, LGBT community. Like it's all of that these kids are gonna, like teenagers are gonna see, and like, wow, this guy is doing this and he's part of the board of directors, he's helping us, and we're the same, because they deal with a lot of people with LGBT. They have, the majority of the people are minorities, blacks, Hispanics. So it's like those, young adults are gonna look at me and like, oh yeah, of course, like this is, like you said, a legit program that's going to help me. Like they if he can be part of the board of directors, maybe one day I can aspire to be one too, or I can make it in this program, so they see someone like them, someone to relate, I guess, if you can say. Someone like, it's hope. It's something to hold on to. Exactly. So that's a huge thing that you brought in. It's exactly, a main reason why they're like, yeah, we need diversity, and you're the perfect example of that. Like you represent that, and we need that, and I'm totally cool with that. I know what I bring to the table. I bring more than that, so, but that's like a big part, and if that's going to help them get more young adults and get trust and feel like a trust, I'm all in, I'm all in with it. So so I mean that's a good point that you brought in.
I guess so. Now that we've told them, of course, or that you've shared with them, that you are now on the board of directors of the Covenant House, how did you get exposed to Covenant House specifically, since you were involved with like Guardian Scholars? Like where along the way did you get like exposed to Covenant House, and like thinking of like, oh, like this may be something I want to get involved with, or like, wow, like this is I love what they're doing, like even though I can't be involved with maybe like like I didn't have an opportunity to be involved with Guardian Scholars directly, but I have an opportunity here, and this is great. Like where was like the exposure?
The exposure actually was through a mentor of mine. He was part of the, he was part of the board. So then he, told me about it, and I'm like, wait, what is this program about? Because I didn't really know too much about it. I was like, what's this program about? Like, what do they do? So I read about it. I looked up some videos, and he's like, yeah, like I think you'd be a perfect person for it. And I'm like, yeah, like I can totally see that,
So you like researched it?
Yeah, I researched it.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, I like it. I like the idea. It was brought upon me, and I was like, yeah, I like the idea. Like I like everything it stands for, and I'm in a better place in my life. So I'm like, yeah, of course. Like I'm definitely, willing to. I'll give it a shot. I give it a shot, and yeah, that's literally how I came across. And I think one cool thing that I saw that I was like, I really want to be part of that was I watched one of actually it was on Oprah, like Oprah owned on her own TV network. This Covenant House program was part of that, and she went in there and like fixed up the whole, their whole place and gave them like a nice place to live and just everything. Like she donated and she fixed everything, and I was like, wow, I want to be part of that. Like that's super cool that you have someone like Oprah being part of this movement, and I want to be part of that and be that change, because I know exactly how that feels to have something where you want to call home, and it's not the best looking place in the world, but you come in and they fix it, and Guardian Scholars have the same thing when they like fixed it and made it feel like home, and it's like it's the best feeling in the world when you actually can come to something like this actually feels like home.
You feel proud of it.
And you're proud, and you take more value to it, and you have more like pride that you even go there, so
yeah,
and you live there. I mean, because you are living in there at the end of the day, so it's more like a community home. So yeah, that was the main like huge like inspiration, was just like the Oprah thing, and then just being like the main population is foster youth, and I'm like, I'm part of that niche. Like that's my niche. That's the people that I'm, that's who I am, and I'm always going to be that. That's the identity that I'm always going to identify myself as, and I want to be able to be part of that movement.
Yeah.
And so that's how I came across.
I think, for those of you that listened to our last episode with David Carrillo, it's like, it's almost the same thing, and where like I told him, and I think he said it himself, but I agreed with him, and I would have said the same thing. It's like, the situation that he grew up in was pretty similar to Adam's, maybe a little bit different, and he had every reason to just fall victim to that life and just give up and say, it's it's not my fault, all these things around me, like I'm in this, I'm a foster kid, I'm in this situation, I'm in gangs, like what else can I be, kind of thing. And you had every right to like play the victim mentality, I guess you could say. And you didn't. I feel like that, and we've talked about that before, like I feel like you had everything against you, but you never gave up. And it's programs like Guardian Scholars and like Covenant House that helped you hold on to that bit of like hope inside of you that was just like, I want to make a difference, or I want to be different for my brother, or different for this. Like if you didn't have these programs, I feel like the idea of that would have been like, yeah, I want that, but it's unachievable for me. I can't do it. How am I supposed to pay for school? How am I supposed to know how to even navigate through any of this, because I don't have anyone that's helping me do this financially or whatnot. So, and it's programs like that you're just like, wow, like this is potentially something that I can do, and like every kid should have that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I feel like with programs like these, that's really helped both of you guys. I mean, I don't know what his involvement was with any of that, but he definitely turned his life around, and he's doing amazing things now himself. And I feel like you've shared a very similar story, and I think it's so awesome that like, as long as I've known you, that's what I said earlier, you've always said like, I want to find a way to give back. I want to find a way to give back. And I feel like it's so cool to see you be so happy about like getting this opportunity, because it's like, it is a direct way for you to give back. You've been trying to give back in a lot of different ways. And you have, even as much as, in my opinion, starting with influencing your brother, because your brother could have gone in a really poor direction, but he probably was inspired by you in a lot of ways to change his life. And your brother's, has a super promising future, and just like you do, you know what I mean? And he definitely feels like loved, and he's doing well in what he's doing. He has a lot of goals and aspirations for himself, and And I feel like that's in large part to you, obviously.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like this is just really helping you kind of reach that next step, I guess.
Yeah.
And being able to help people and give back in some way that you felt like you needed to, since you received these opportunities yourself. So I think that's super awesome. If you guys don't know a lot about the Covenant House, or just want to find out more about it, we'll go ahead and put links to in the description of the YouTube video about the Covenant House, so you guys can read more about it and see. We'll also link that video to, I think Oprah had like a little clip too from that particular segment that Adam was talking about, so we'll include that in the description as well, so you guys can watch that. It's really, really cool. He sent that to me too. And had a chance to watch it as well.
I actually cried. I was like, because I've been there before. I know exactly what I feel.
Yeah.
I was like,
hey, it's touching.
I was like, oh man, this is good.
And then we'll also include the link to Covenant House in the show notes. But if you want to watch the video, just head on over to our YouTube channel on this particular episode. And we'll the links for the other items will be in the description of the YouTube video. But just some any kind of closing thoughts as far as like Covenant House and like what your plans are. How about like sharing like what are your plans moving forward? I know you're going to be trying to be the face of maybe trying to get donors, which is excellent, getting people to donate to the cause so that you can make this a possibility. But like what are, I guess, long-term goals for you with being at Covenant House and on the board of directors?
Honestly, Danny, my biggest thing is I've always told my purpose in life, like I've always like told people this, and I'm telling you and everyone hearing.
Well, you've told me before.
I've told you before, but my biggest thing is for some, like in 5 years from now, I have about, I don't know how many handful of young adults come to me and be like, Adam, thank you. You changed my life, man. Like I looked up to you and you changed my life. That's the biggest thing I want to hear. I don't care about the donors. I don't care about what policies I can do to change. It's more about these young adults coming to me and I'm looking at them now and they're like doing better for themselves. And that's going to make me happy. And I'm going to find whoever that is the hardest person there that doesn't listen, whoever, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be in his butt because I want to make sure that he knows that he has an opportunity, because I was one of those hard-headed people. And I want to stick with those because those are the ones that they give up on. People gave up on me, and it's like, I want to make sure that I'm not the reason. I'm the reason that I don't want to give up on anyone. And that's my biggest thing, is to, in 5 years from now, to have a couple of young adults come to me and like I said, Adam, thank you. You changed my life. If it wasn't for you, you're the reason why. And I thank you. And that's all I'm here for. I'm all here for that. And that's why I do this podcast, because I'm here for somebody to one day come to me and tell me that I helped them change their life, or whatever the case. I had a little slight influence in it. I want to be that reason. So that's my biggest purpose in life, is to be that change for someone. And I know I can be that change for someone. So yeah, that's, I really don't have anything else besides that, man. That's literally what it is.
Well, now that everyone's crying over here,
none of that.
There's nothing really else I wanted to ask. That's a perfect way to sum it up. But yes, congratulations again on this accomplishment. It's super awesome to see you reach that next step and being able to make an impact and find a way to give back. We all, I think all of us always want to try to find a way to give back, whether it's within our own family, and for some people it's in other ways. And I think it's super commendable to see you do this and be excited about it. And like, not everyone is excited about this kind of stuff, and I feel like more of us should be, obviously, but it's awesome to see someone like you be so excited about it and also bring awareness to it like you are. So that's even better. And it's something too that if you guys were kind of moved or touched by this, let us know in the comments below. If you had a similar situation, or if you've heard of Covenant House, leave a comment, let us know. We'd love to, I'm sure Adam would love to hear about that too. Or if you know maybe of anyone that you feel like could benefit from a program like this, or you just want more information, just like I said, we'll leave the links below. But feel free to DM us on Instagram as well. If you wanted to maybe ask specific questions to Adam, them that maybe he can help answer, because obviously Adam is the main part of this podcast, so he does view and see the DMs on Instagram. So if you have direct questions that he can maybe help you with, or give you direction, if you don't want to write something publicly on a YouTube comment, go ahead and send us a DM on Instagram, and he does see that stuff, obviously, so he can respond to you if you guys wanted to do that less publicly. But yeah, I think that's about it. Again, if you guys don't already subscribe to us on any of the podcast networks, go ahead and look for us as LAconic Podcast. And it's going to be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those other places. And again, if you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on YouTube, if you have YouTube Premium, go ahead and hit that like button, and also subscribe. We're going to have some more episodes coming through on YouTube. We haven't done all the episodes on YouTube simultaneously, but I feel like moving forward, we're probably going to be going to do that, or at least the majority of them. So if you like to listen to it or watch it this way, you can continue to do that. But thanks again, guys, for listening, and thank you for sharing with us, Adam,
of course,
and being pleasure. A little vulnerable. I know, yeah. I know that's.
If you guys need, like I said, Danny, if you guys have any questions, even if my own story, like foster care, if you're a foster youth or whatever, and you want to reach out, feel free.
Yeah,
I'm all ears.
Absolutely, absolutely. But thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.